Welcome to Your Legacy Radio. My name is Scott Tanzel, and I am happy to be with you today. Couldn't be more happy to be with you this weekend as we celebrate Insurance Awareness Month and the understanding of insurance and how that fits into your overall legacy and the planning of your overall legacy. I want to talk about the sole sponsor of Your Legacy Radio real quick. It is River Wealth Solutions. River Wealth Solutions is an organization that is structured to assist individuals who are terminally ill and suffering or affected by, let's say it that way, because you can be terminally ill but overcome that, go into remission, overcome the terminal illness. Terminal illness goes away, right? Doctors misdiagnose, things happen. But individuals who are affected by a terminal illness, the organization of River Wealth Solutions assists them in identifying areas within their life where they have assets currently. They don't have to find the assets or accumulate the assets. They already have them. They already have something like a life insurance policy. They already have real estate. And the organization of River Wealth Solutions will help them take that asset, turn that asset into something that I hear over and over and over from individuals who are affected by a terminal illness. Something that they need is access to funds. We need funds for medical care. We need funds for a special trip that we want to take. We need funds so that my wife or my husband or a caretaker can come into the home and spend the time that they need to spend in that home assisting the individual who is affected by the terminal illness. So there's so many different reasons why individuals need funds. And one of the things that River Wealth Solutions specializes in is helping them take assets they currently own as a life insurance policy, selling that life insurance policy, capitalizing on that life insurance policy now when they most need the funds. Of course, the funds are needed after something happens to someone and they are no longer on this earth. However, they never get to utilize the funds within that policy. This transaction is something that I've only talked to a few individuals that even understand this transaction is even available to them. It's called a living resource benefit, and it's when you take your life insurance policy, you sell that policy, someone purchases that policy, pays the premiums on that policy for the rest of the time of that policy being in effect, and you get to capitalize on the capital that you receive from the policy now. So you can use it for the things that you need to do now, not necessarily holding that policy until it's too late for you to accumulate that wealth, for you to utilize that wealth, for you to utilize that money and the things that you want to use it for. And I've said this so many times on the show before. Would your family rather you leave that money for them or live it with them? And when I see individuals who are actually taking their life insurance policies through the help of River Wealth Solutions, selling that policy and living it with their family opposed to leaving it for their family, there's so many memories, so much of a legacy, so many things that are created that individuals never thought could be created through that transaction. So if you want more information about River Wealth Solutions, you can give them a call at 866-500-2922. That's 866-500-2922. We discussed a lot of different things on last week's show, and I had a lot of questions throughout the week as far as the things that we discussed, and we tried to stay pretty surface level with a lot of the topics of discussion from last week's show, but I want to talk about a few of them again this week, and I had a lot of questions as to a living will and a will and how to set those up and what's the proper order to put things in and how should you designate your assets as far as where they should go, and all of that has to do with you and what you want to accomplish. The reason these individuals had these questions, though, is because they never had someone sit down with them and actually analyze with them, not just say here's a checklist or here's a bunch of questions that you can answer and it'll give you your answer. You answer these questions, it'll help you decide how you want to organize your will. Because I've seen some advisors and some individuals and some organizations that just give the person who wants to set up a will a packet that then they can go fill out themselves, and all of a sudden they're supposed to define within the packet through these questions that the packet holds within what their will should be set up as. And to me, that's pretty much saying, okay, you came to me asking me to hold your hand and walk you through the process of setting up your end-of-life planning. And I'm going to do that by giving you some information and sending you off by yourself and letting you figure it out for yourself. And that's not really the intention they hope will be accomplished with that realm or with that way of handling the situation, but it is what is accomplished. And that's a problem that I've seen over and over and over. And I'll tell you this, the organization that is Riverwell Solutions, the organization that I founded, which is Riverwell Solutions, that's not how things are done within that organization. Because, for me, if someone comes to me from this show or just walking up to me on the street or calling me wanting more information about how to set up a will, how to set up their estate, how to set up a living will, what's the difference, what do I need as far as a power of attorney, why do I need a power of attorney, who should be my power of attorney, all of these things that need to be set up as far as end-of-life planning. The thing that I want to do with them is I want to sit down and really understand what it is they're trying to accomplish first. So when they come to me, no matter what the question is, I say, well, let's sit down for a second. Let's put that question over here to the side, and then let's talk about you. Let's figure out what it is that you have done throughout your life. Tell me about you. Tell me about when you were a child. Tell me about when you were, when you started working. What have you done as far as your career path? What have you accumulated over life? What is it you've accumulated as far as your family? Your family and how many kids do you have? How many grandkids do you have? What does your finances look like? Where is all of your finances located? Is it in multiple accounts? Where is it? What are those accounts set up as? Do they have a beneficiary? All of these things will define through about an hour and a half or 2 hour conversation with myself or one of the living resource specialists with Riverwell Solutions, sitting down with you individually to define what is it you've accumulated, what is it you have now, how did you create it? Because we always like to hear that story. We always like to understand what is it you went through to create that. Because it's not just like individuals come in and they're like, this is what I have, right? No, they want to understand, at least we want to understand, what it is you did to create that, because there's a lot of work that went into that. And a lot of times just in going through that conversation of what was the work that went into creating what it is you have today will help you define, because we don't answer any of the questions for you. We just walk through a conversation with you instead of sending you off to walk through it by yourself. We walk through a proper conversation with you to help you understand what it is you've done to create that, who was involved, and then through that conversation, you will identify, you will put into place, you will realize who it is you want to leave these items to. And once we get to that point, then we can say, okay, what are the documents, what are the parameters that we want to put into place to create the end of life planning? And then we walk through that piece with you. But until that first part is done, it's really hard to say what other parameters or what other features, what other documents need to be in place for you to properly set up your end of life plan. That's just, it's the same thing as if someone comes to me, and I have this question a lot, through Riverwell Solutions. Individuals will call me up and say, I think I need to sell my life insurance policy. I want to sell my life insurance policy. Should I sell my life insurance policy? Okay, let's put that question to the side. Let me learn about you. Let me understand you. Let me understand what you want to accomplish. What's the reason behind wanting to sell the policy? And then what I'll hear is, well, I want to sell the policy so I'll have more money for retirement, or I want to sell the policy so that I'll have assets for medical expenses. I want to sell the policy to go on a special trip that I've always wanted to take, but I haven't had the finances to take. I want or need to sell the policy because I need to take the premium payments that I'm putting into this policy, reallocate them toward medical expenses or being able to take time off work, my living expenses, whatever it may be. I'm at a point, Scott, where I can't afford the policy anymore. I can't afford to continue to pay the premium on the policy that I currently have. And once we identify that, then we can say, okay, the living resource benefit transaction makes sense for you. And now we need to identify, how do we set that up properly for you and for your family so that it creates what it is you're looking to create within that transaction? Because there's a lot of different things you can do within the living resource benefit transaction. As far as selling your life insurance policy, there's a lot of things that you can do with those funds. You can allocate them towards a lot of different things, but you can also set them up to still create a benefit at death for you. So when you pass away, you still have that death benefit that your family can use to pay expenses that are going to happen when someone passes away. Expenses are incurred, and your family will have that death benefit to be able to use that towards those expenses. You can take a living resource benefit, set it up as a managed account, a custodial account that will pay your medical expenses and create a tax-free transaction. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, but before we get to any of that, we have to discover what it is you're looking to create, why it is you want to create the living resource benefit transaction, and that will answer the other questions as we go through that conversation. If you want more information about a living resource benefit, you can go to livingresourcebenefit.com and find all the information you want to find about a living resource benefit transaction. You can also call River Wealth Solutions directly to find out more about a living resource benefit as well. And their number is 866-500-2922. That number one more time is 866-500-2922. Life is about discovery. Life is about asking the proper questions, getting in front of the proper individuals to answer those questions, taking the answers to those questions, and then deciding what it is that you want to do in life to create the life and the legacy that you want to leave behind. So we'll be right back with more of Your Legacy Radio right here on Newstalk 1110 WBT and on WBT.com.